Hello, hello, and welcome. Happy New Year. Welcome to season two and episode one of Working It Out with Damian-Michael. And of course, I am your host, King Damian-Michael Williams. I'm so honored uh, and excited to be back with all of you. Of course, as you know, we're on Facebook Live and also YouTube Live. Make sure you share this with your friends and family and call your girlfriends and your homeboys and let them know that Working It Out with Damian-Michael is on. Okay? All right. Listen, um, it's a new year. We made it, but we have a lot of work to do. We have a new president elect and also vice president elect who have actually made history. Um, and we have, like I said, we have a lot of work ahead of us. And we always, especially within the African American community, speak of, talk about uh, the stance and the stigma of the Black king. But it's very rare that we talk about our Black queens. So tonight, we're going to be talking about the stigma of the strong Black woman. Um, I want to share some things with you, and my guest tonight, which I'm so heavily excited, um, is Sheila Smith and also Dion McDaniel, and we also might later on have some other special guests coming in. Hey, Sheila.
Hey, Damien. Just so you
Hey,
know, Celia.
Sheila.
There we go.
Awesome. Thank you, Sheila. Thank you so much. And also Dion. Hey.
Hey, honey.
I'm so glad, ladies, that you're here with me tonight. We're going to be talking about a very strong, yet I feel forgotten topic, which is about the strong Black woman. I myself personally was raised by a strong Black woman, and 99.99% of my family are women. So I have examples of all types of levels of strength from the Black Queen. I want to, before we go into it, I want to share this one quote from Dr. Maya Angelou, and it states as such: there's a kind of strength that is almost frightening in Black women. It's as if a steel rod runs right through the head down to the feet. And I know that personally because I've seen that. I've experienced my mother, who raised two young Black African American kings by herself. Fathers were nowhere to be found. So it was upon my mother to be both to and for the both of us. Um, and I saw her at low points. I saw her at weak points. I saw her at strong points. There are still times when some of the nuggets of wisdom that she gave me come back to me at certain times. And it's like, oh, this is what she meant by this. Or when she said this, now I get it. Of course, back then, it was like, Ma, you don't know what you're talking about. That's old school stuff. I'm looking at something different, not knowing. It's like, baby, I've been where you are.
Mm-hmm.
And I can tell you about it five different directions.
Most definitely.
So it's so ironic, for lack of better words, to be able to see things turn around and see all of the things that she taught, showed, imparted into me now becomes a reality for me. And I had to face it, even though she could only share so much, from a woman's point of view, but yet it still saved my life.
Mm-hmm.
She's the reason why I'm here today.
Mm-hmm.
So, with that quote that I just quoted, and with all of that, what is your stance when it comes to, and what is your overall view of the Black woman? Sheila.
Damien, I wore that steel rod for the first 45 years of my life, I would say.
Okay.
Um, And while it helps you to get where you're going,
Mm-hmm.
it definitely takes a toll on Black women. At
Mm,
this juncture in my life, I can say that it is so important for us to let go of that mantle, take off the superwoman cape, and admit to ourselves and the people around us that we are not superheroes. We are great queens, we are wonderful women, but superheroes we are not. We were not born to be that. We were not born to be everything to everybody. Um,
okay.
and the day that I stopped trying to be everything to everybody was the day that I felt free.
Ah, that says a
Yeah,
lot. That says a lot.
yeah.
Dion, please share.
For me, um, being strong wasn't really a choice.
Mm,
It was what I had to do.
mm-hmm.
Um, I did grow up with both my parents, but it was quite dysfunctional. And what I saw was what I tried not to be.
Mm-hmm.
And then I had my children, and I found myself raising them alone. So
Mm-hmm.
here again, being strong wasn't a choice. It's what I had to do.
Right.
In doing that, somewhere along the line, some could say I lost me because I was trying to be everything that I needed to be because I had these kids. Um,
Mm,
but all in all, God graced me to do my absolute very best, which was good enough for them, you
Mm.
know.
awesome. Yes.
Um, and now I can sit back that they're all grown and rediscover me
Mm-hmm.
without, as she said, having that superwoman cape on anymore. I can just be me.
Right. Right.
And isn't it liberating?
Mhm.
Isn't it liberating? How many children do you have, Dion?
I have four, two boys, two girls.
Oh, wow. I have three boys and one girl
Okay.
of
Wow.
my
Okay.
own. And then bonus children, I have six more. So together, husband
Woo.
and I have 10.
Oh.
Um, we only
Okay.
have one left at home. Baby girl is 14. And,
Mm.
I'm pushing her on out the door. She is my first experience raising a girl. Um,
Oh,
and she's tough. She's
Mm.
tough.
wow.
It's a lot tougher than the boys.
Boys are different. I don't
Yeah,
know which one is tougher because I've had each, two of each. So I'm not sure. I'll just say they're different.
yes,
They're
very,
different.
very different.
Wow.
And
The
Damien,
girls.
I grew up in your situation and then raised my kids in a similar, I grew up under a strong single Black mom,
Mhm,
um,
Right.
as an only child of her.
Mm-hmm.
mhm.
And then raising the three boys and my daughter by myself. I just got married to my high school sweetheart about,
Awesome.
about 5 years ago.
Congratulations.
So no longer alone, and
Yay.
able to just kind of be a woman and
Mm,
not be the man and the woman in the house and
Yeah.
mom and the dad. It's
Yeah.
right.
it's also a learning experience though, because
Mm-hmm.
once you've been that strong Black woman all your life, it's hard to let that go.
Yeah.
Right.
It's
Yeah.
hard to figure out who you are without that.
Right.
So
Mhm.
Now, I'm glad the both of you have shared that with me because where I want to go, because of course, this particular show uh, hones in on mental health with
mhm,
African American people and
Mhm.
also people abroad, um, which in a lot of ways, especially in the African American community, we really don't focus in or pay attention to mental health.
Right.
right.
We can see, if somebody's down or uh, down and out, down on their luck, or feeling, as we know now, depressed,
Right.
Mhm,
or dealing with high anxiety, or
right.
all of those other emotions, those real emotions and real issues, mental issues that a lot of us have.
Yeah.
Um, we were known just to say, "Oh, just shake that off. You'll be all right,"
Right.
instead of actually going to see about yourself
Right.
getting the help, the proper help that you need. So I want to go here because we're definitely going to go deeper about this. And also, I want to share this other quote here. It says, as women of color, we often have to fight the stigma within our communities surrounding mental health challenges, which is so extremely real on both sides of the spectrum, both men and women in our community as a whole. But specifically about women, I was doing my studies and along with the personal issues and experience I have uh, around and with women, um, I saw something that caught my eye, and I just sat there for a moment and kind of meditated about it. Because when you talk about chronic medical conditions, violence, low income jobs, you have caregiver strain. Because I know a lot of women that are taking care of either, family or someone close or whatnot. You have social isolation, and you have living in crime-ridden neighborhoods, and you're exposed to traumatic events, and also abusive relationships. Because in between, along that journey, my mother, as well as others I've seen, pursue to at least have a date, because especially when your everyday thing is the kids, so it's like, okay, can I get a break? Can somebody take me out dancing or something?
Please.
Right, please and thank you. But I mean, it's just to the point now, you know, all of those things, and like you said, being a superwoman and wearing the cape and doing everything and being everything for those kids, because those are your heart. And I have to do this. These are my children.
Yeah.
Nobody else is going to do it. I have to do this.
Exactly.
So it's just without thought, you automatically just step in and do what you have to do.
Yep.
Right.
To the best of your ability. But when a lot of those things happen or certain things are neglected, then it could affect you mentally. And you won't even really know it. You feel heavy.
Right.
You're not happy.
Right.
And have no idea how to even get to that place. What does happy
to even give it a name.
Right. What does happiness like?
Exactly. Like, okay, what is happiness like? Why am I feeling like this? What is this feeling?
Right.
You won't even name it. So that causes more stress and confusion and pain and hurt, inwardly. But of course, outwardly, you have to bulk up.
Yep.
Because, the daddy's not around and everybody's calling mama.
Yep.
Suck it up,
When they need shoes.
That's
Mama,
right.
I need deodorant.
On and push
Right. Right. Mama, I'm hungry. Mama, I need this. Mama, you got to do this. Oh, mama, why? So, and I get it when my mother would, especially when I, became older and, thought I was a little swole. And my mother would snap. She said, boy, it was just, she would go straight left, because when you're doing everything just across the board, when you have someone that you're caring for and you're doing everything you can for them, and them to just swell up at you or bring you some negative energy, it's like, hey, wait a minute.
Like, wait a minute, this is the ultimate insult you're giving me here.
Right. I'm your mama. Nobody's gonna do for you what I do for you.
Right.
And it's been a few times my mother had to bring me back to reality.
We do that.
Sometimes a little backhand, little, and my grandfather, may he rest in peace, was a professional black boxer. So he taught not only because with my mother's immediate family was 3 boys and 7 girls. So he taught all of them how to box. And with his mentality back in the day, he only had an elementary education.
Right.
But he knew how to fight. And he said, don't y'all start it, but end it.
Exactly.
And he meant every word. He said, if you don't end it, I'm going to get you.
I got to deal with you. Right.
Right. So it was all of that mentality. So, and I shared that to share this because one time I thought I was wrong and my mother snapped. And all I heard was, because, that N word. And then all of a sudden, bullseye. My breath went that way and I went back the other way. I just crawled to my room. I said, you know what? I'm
Mom
good.
had a swift jab.
Oh, I promise you.
Had a swift jab.
I was delivered real quick. I
tell you.
I came back to reality real quick. You know, but when you deal with all of that, and sometimes, especially looking back at it now, talking about this, you know, those little things that mean so much.
It
You
does.
know, when your mother would go in the kitchen and whip something up so quick and it'd be so good. It's like, well, how did you do this?
How would she do that? We didn't even have anything in there.
Right, exactly. To our knowledge. But mom,
Yeah.
you know, moms have a mental computer and y'all know this and this goes here and that goes there. And I have this amount and this and this. And that's why, you know, my mothers would tell us, okay, this is such and such in the cupboard. Don't touch it.
Right.
Right. But she knew what she was going to do with it.
Right. Exactly. She knew what she was going to do. And she knew at a certain point after, you know, the rent was paid, mortgage, bills, got some food in the house to feed all of their mouths.
Through.
That part.
Yes.
Each week,
Yes.
you knew what you had to do and that certain meal to make it stretch at least 2 to 3 days, some, you know, out the week, at least up until Friday, you know, and then, you know, on the weekend you might get a hot dog or whatever, you know, or whatever, but she would make sure you were fed.
Yeah.
But, you know, sometimes I swore my mother had, you know, knew magic. Because I'm like, how'd you do that? You know, but I solely believe that it comes with a mother's intuition. They can see things, they can feel things, they can tell you about your friends. I mean, because sometimes
we don't listen until it's too late.
Of course, because
But
my mother would give me the choice. She's like, don't do it because that one's going to do such and such and such. Oh, they cool, Mom, they cool. Sure enough, they would do it. And then I'm sitting there looking like,
Mama.
right. How she know that?
And at that point, she like, all right, baby.
Right. Exactly. Exactly. So please, ladies, share with us some stories or some experiences where you begin to grow into motherhood. We'll start there.
Wow.
Yeah.
I had my first son at 20.
Okay.
And I had gone to Ohio State University for a year.
Oh, okay.
Came back because finances were not what they should have been, and I didn't know what I should have known to go get that money so I could stay in school.
Okay.
So I came home and found myself, you know, pregnant with my first son, and it changed me immediately.
Wow.
It was really an overnight thing for me. When I found out I was pregnant, it was because, you know, I came home from college and I'm still in that college mindset. So I'm hanging out, I'm partying, I'm here and I'm there. But as soon as I knew that I was pregnant, everything just changed. Everything looked different. Everything felt different. There was nothing nobody could say to me. I knew what I needed to do, what I wanted for this little person that I was growing. And it was just automatic. You know, I've seen other women struggle with that. And I feel bad about it for them because for me, my mother was quintessential, strong, single Black woman. Mind you, she only had one child to deal with, and I was a handful, but I was just one, you know. But what she instilled in me growing up, you can cry, but then you got to get up and do something about it because tears don't bring resolution.
They don't.
Tears bring relief, not resolution.
Temporary relief at that.
Yes. So you can cry about it, but then you got to get up and make something happen. And failure is not an option. And, you know, we don't take anyone disrespecting us and treating us less than, you know, and all these things are going through my head. And so it was just, okay, I need to get back in school. I need to get a good paying job. I want to give this child everything.
Right.
And so that was my driving force. And then when I had my second son a year and a half later, it just really instilled that, like, oh, okay, this is it.
Mhm.
Boys in the Hood came out. The movie
Uh-huh.
Boys in the Hood came out when my
Yes,
sons
indeed.
were 2 and 3.
Wow.
And I remember going to the movie theater, watching that movie,
Hmm.
and bawling the whole
Wow.
time. I just cried and cried. I couldn't stop crying after the movie was over. I couldn't stop crying. And I was like, I have young Black men. My mother
Hmm.
had a daughter. And I
Right.
think, we've already discussed that's different. And as a mother, you feel like you can impart yourself into your daughter.
Hmm.
I never had an experience with men. My grandfather
Hmm.
was great, but
Right.
he wasn't around as much as I would have liked him to be. My
Okay.
uncle moved out of state when I was young. So that was it. Those were the men in my family. Otherwise, it
Hmm.
was a bunch of strong women. And I knew, not only am I raising these children, but these are young Black men.
Hmm.
Give them something that I don't necessarily have.
Mhm.
And that was like
Wow.
the scariest part for me. After that, I really got into, being careful about who I'm dating.
Hmm.
Making sure that my male cousins knew that I was going to need their input. Um, looking for mentors and people who could help my sons become the men that I wanted them to be, the men
Exactly.
I've never experienced, you know.
Right.
Yeah.
Wow. Dion, please share.
A little bit, kind of the opposite of what she just shared. I was 16.
Mm.
So I grew up with my oldest daughter, so to speak.
Hmm.
I had to figure it out on the fly because at that point I was still a teenager, but now I'm a mother. So I got to do both.
Adulthood came early, huh?
It
Right.
came real early.
Hmm.
Um, but instincts kicked in and I just knew what to do without any help from anybody else because I pretty much had to do it all by myself, finish high school, the whole 9 yards. And
Mm.
thank God I was able to do that. And everywhere you saw me, I had that little girl with me. She was
Hmm.
she was right there. When I went to school, she was there. I drop her off early, get on the bus, go to high school. Get off the bus, go back and pick her up, go home, feed her, bathe her, do homework. So I kind of grew up with her. Um, and I wouldn't change it for the world because it made me who I am today.
Mm. Mm.
Started a little later and maybe not 16, but it is what it is. And it was just me. Her father was around, but he wasn't there. I had to do it. I had to um, accept the full responsibility of this little person.
Mhm.
And she was an easy child. So she didn't give me a whole lot of problems until she got maybe 17. Then she lost her mind.
Bless
But until then, she was the easy child. I was able to navigate life with her. It wasn't that, for me, it wasn't that difficult. Like I said, there was something inside of me where it just turned on and I was able
Hmm.
to do this.
you. Mhm.
Different things my mother had told me growing up, it just came. It just
Right.
came.
Yeah.
And then when I turned 21, I had Lynette, my second
Hmm.
daughter. Now, by that point, I realized, okay, I've graduated high school, I'm in college. This isn't working. I got to take care of these girls. So I went and got a career, which was in transportation. I was a school bus driver over 20 years, and
Okay.
that afforded me to take care of these little people. Um,
Hmm.
and because I knew that it was just me, and if I didn't have the financial stability, I couldn't do it.
Right.
And so I had to make a choice, school or take care of them. of course, I chose to take care of them.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what I did. And then a
Right.
few years down the line, then I had my first son.
Okay.
You know, the girls, like I said, girls and boys are different. I can't say which is more or less because I got both. And then I was like, okay, I got this man child here. What do I do?
What to do, Lord? What to do? Right.
This is different. I know what to tell a little girl when certain aspects of them growing up and start changing and doing other. I know what to tell them. But what do I tell this little boy? Okay. Thank goodness my dad was around, so he was a very powerful influence for my
Mhm.
son. To
Yeah.
this day, they remember all the life lessons that I don't even remember that he taught them. And they keep
Wow.
telling me, I go, when did that
That's
happen?
awesome.
Okay.
Right. He
So
planted seeds. Yeah.
yeah. So when they were younger, it was a little easier. But as they started to grow, I'm like, okay, these are boys. What do I do? What do I do? And by the grace of God, he would always give me the correct answer for that man child,
Mhm.
because I had to teach them to tie a tie.
Right.
I had to teach them different aspects of,
Got to wear both those hats. Yeah.
yeah, I had to teach them
Hmm.
aspects of being a man. And I'm like, okay, Lord, I don't know what to do, but okay, I hear
Right.
you. This is what I'm gonna give them because it's where
Right.
um, it wasn't always an easy task, but it was one that I wouldn't trade because I got four awesome kids out of it.
Yes.
That's beautiful. And
Yes.
Four awesome kids.
I have to, before we go deeper, because trust me, ladies, we're going deeper with this because I'm so inspired by the both of you, but I just feel led and inspired to affirm the both of you. From a king to two queens, thank you for the seeds of life that you planted on this earth. Because if it weren't for you, we wouldn't be. So thank you. You're not forgotten. So we appreciate the both of you. So
Thank
I love
you.
you and appreciate you and thank you so much. I love the both of the energy that's here and I appreciate your spirit. Thank you so much for this.
Thank you. We are
So
glad,
now,
just honored to be here. And I think about what you said in the beginning when, your mom she brought you back.
oh yeah, oh
And
yeah, real
you
quick.
can look back now and remember all the things she told you and all the things she taught you.
Right. Hmm.
That is the jewel in her crown.
Oh
You
yeah.
the whole way, I was kind of a tomboy,
Hmm.
grew up with a bunch of male cousins.
Ah, okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was in school, and when I was in school, I hung out with the guys. I didn't have a lot of female friends.
Right.
So I felt very at home teaching my sons a lot of things just
Right.
from what I had learned from the guys that I was around. Uh,
Hmm.
I struggle more with this girl. I'm like, what do I do with her? She's so emotional and she's so feminine. And I was not that, even
Right.
growing
Right.
up, I was more of a tomboy. I wanted to play football, I wanted to hang
Hmm.
out with the fellas and
Hang out with the fellas, right? With the guys,
yeah,
right?
a girly girl. And
Right.
and I find myself, at a loss. And my son's looking at me like, well, mom, you a girl. And I'm yeah, but no. I'm like,
Right.
what kind of girl your sister is? She's different.
Yeah,
And see that proves a major point because even though you are a woman, but like you said, you were around the fellas. You want to hang with the guys, with the homies.
Yeah.
So you had more of that imparted than the effeminate or the
Yeah.
soft or the emotional,
I knew how to
because you came up around like, take a licking and keep on ticking.
right, right. I knew how to tie a tie. I knew to tell them
Oh,
to wear
okay, see.
shorts under their sweatpants so they didn't have
Right,
mishaps. All that kind of stuff. I knew all that.
right.
Woo! Baby
yeah.
girl taking me through it. I'm just gonna go ahead and say, Dion, after this, I need your number. So any experienced women that raise girls, I need help.
You got it. You
Indeed,
got it.
indeed.
You
This is
got it. I
awesome.
think it was different for me because I was that girly tomboy, if there's such a thing.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
I was prissy and I was dirty.
Yeah,
Okay.
I guess I was kind of that way too, because I always had nails. You
Mhm.
know, I always had to have my hair just so.
Mhm. Uh-huh.
And then
Right.
My
I was
mother would hate
gonna
it
put on
because
my
she like,
jeans and climb that tree.
right.
Right.
She
You
said,
know.
You know what to do. You was always ready.
Why are you out there in your skirt playing baseball? Because I would tie that skirt up in the middle and tie my hair and let's go. And
Let's roll with it.
she couldn't because she's very, uh very feminine, very laid back. She nothing tomboyish about mama. Not nothing. Not nothing. She wasn't getting out there in that dirt and doing none of that, but that was me. I wanted to be out there with everything. And then I did the girly thing too. So I kind of, moved back and forth. I was
Yeah.
Got the
comfortable
best
in
of
both
both
worlds.
worlds.
I was
Mhm.
comfortable in both worlds.
Wow.
So that gave me an edge up with the girls because now I have a very feminine daughter, and then I have a straight out tomboy, and nothing feminine. Even to this day, at almost 40, she still
Right.
would put on her Nikes and her chucks and put her hair up in top of her head. Never wears makeup or anything. She just started doing, wearing nails.
She sound like
Oh.
me.
And I look at her and I go, "What happened?" And then her daughter is the opposite of her. She said, "I'm like you, Mimi. I'm gonna
Uh-huh.
comb my hair. I'm gonna get my nails done. I'm gonna get me put my clothes on." I'll be okay. So it's just one to the other. It's like
Right.
okay.
One
So
extreme to the next.
you know who it is.
Oh yeah, I do. Oh Lord. Wow. Well, ladies, I'm glad we're going here because one thing that stands out to me, is the scrutiny that
Mm,
both African American men and women face behind our hair.
Mm.
mhm.
And as young ladies, they're now, banning the natural hairstyles of the young African American ladies, girls in the school.
Mhm.
I mean, real, it's hair.
I wish
It's hair.
I wish somebody would with my baby because I'm
Right.
buttoned up and ready to go. I wish they would.
That
Right.
part. All of that. All of
Oh,
that. Because it just, because one of the things that a lot of people don't realize that we deal with, and also especially our black girls coming up and coming, they
mhm.
deal with the scrutiny of hair and beauty because it all has to be according to the European, you
Right.
know, rules and
Right.
policies and regulations of how you should look and
Right.
presentation and all those
Right.
things. I'm like, that's not my culture.
Right.
That's not our culture.
Right. That's
So
not.
you can have that. Exactly. You
Right.
Yeah.
know. So how is it, or have you ever dealt with, or how do you how would you deal with that if that ever did happen?
Wow.
Good
You know,
question.
it is. We are. I feel like I'm going backward. I locked my hair in '98. So when
Awesome.
my daughter came along with all this hair, thicker than mine, longer than mine ever was, and
Wow.
I just was at a loss. I had three boys. I was handy with some clippers, you know, but here's this little girl, she
So
hair, and I was like, what do I do? Because I had worn locks by that time. She's never seen me without locks. So
Ah.
wow.
she's seen pictures, but she doesn't
Hmm.
know her mom without locks. So she was 4 and we were doing her hair and she was crying and I was crying. And she said, Mommy, I just want you to make it pretty like yours. I just want to lock my hair and be pretty like you. And I kept saying, no, this is more of an adult decision because this is for life. You don't really cut your locks out. So I don't want to do that. But I went ahead. I said, you know
Hmm.
what? This is her culture. This is who we are.
Hmm.
She is a beautiful black queen, and she may as well. Why wait until she's 28 like I did to discover that?
Mhm.
After 28 years of perms and hair falling out and all kinds of, stress and hot combs and stuff, I finally realized what God gave me is beautiful. So
Mhm.
if
Amen.
I did that at 4,
Right.
Mhm.
do that. Well, fast
Hmm.
forward, she's 14. this past summer, she went to Florida with her stepsister and came back with all her locks combed out. Yeah. Yeah. So I am going through so now she has all this hair that she's never had to deal with.
Mm-hmm.
It's a learning thing for her. Well, what do I do with it? I don't know. I told you not to take it out. You took it out. It's on you.
Figure it out. Right.
Take it out. Mama doesn't do hair.
Right.
Hair. I retwist locks. That's all I do. And now as a matter of fact, all three of her brothers have locks now. My mom has locks now. But she's gone and combed hers out. I said, well, baby, you're beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what you're going to do with all of that all over your head, but you're beautiful. Wear it how you wear it.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
So that's a battle that she's got to fight. She's got to make the decision how she wants to handle it. I am anti-chemical, so it's natural. And I told her, I said, that's your hair. It's natural. Figure out how to make it do whatever it is. And I was like, I don't really know what you're trying to achieve.
Mm-hmm.
But hey, there's tons of videos on YouTube, baby. Work it out.
Hey, there's plenty of tutorials she can follow.
Hey.
And that's funny because that's how, especially as I'm firstborn, so I'm older. So she learned a lot from me. So when my younger brother came along years later, she had a hold on to some things because she realized as I became older, she had to become tougher.
Yes.
Because she could no longer be soft with me because after a while I wasn't. And especially me having a mouth like hers. The apple doesn't fall far from the tree. So it's just like, because there's been plenty of times she didn't have to pop it like, boy. Right. So it just like, it had to bring me back to life and reality real quick. It's like, oh, okay, yeah, I'm still I'm the child. I'm the child.
Right. You're in charge. I'm sorry.
Right. Yeah, you paying this rent and this mortgage. Hey, I apologize. I bow out. But it just, but my mother used to do the same thing because after a while, when she became tough with me and she would give me food for thought or give me directions or things to do and say, like, keep it like this. So when I decided to change my mind and be different, and my mother's like, okay, well, I told you don't do it and I told you what would happen. So figure it out. It's up to you.
Yep.
Trey is a mess. But yeah, it's like she would just, that's when she started, especially around my beginning years of my teenage years. She really just started to bulk up a little bit like, okay, I see what I'm going to have to do with you because you don't believe fat meat grease, as she would tell me. Right. So she's like, I'm going to have to show you for real. So, sometimes she would come with a hard hand and then sometimes she would just use those words that would go right to here and my heart be like, oh, man. Oh, man. Why you got to be like that, Mom? Dang. But she was giving me truth. Right. She said, I'm being nice. But she said, that world right outside that door don't care nothing if you live or die. They don't care nothing about you. Exactly. So you might want to take some information from somebody who give a damn.
Yeah.
Okay. So things just started clicking every now and sometimes it would take me a little longer because I was, trying to feel myself a little bit. And I'm like, no. Mm-mm. Right. She said, only time you can feel yourself is when you have your own.
12 and 14. Of, I'm a man.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I started feeling my apex, and she was like, no.
Yeah, we got to deflate your chest real quick.
Right. You're like, bam. And like I said, my breath would go forward and I would go backwards. So it was just like, okay, I'm not going to play this game no more. Yeah, I'm out. I don't want to play no more. White flag. I'm out. Right quick before we go any further, to all of our viewers who, like myself, deal with chronic depression and high anxiety, a lot of people don't know that we have those times where we just want to end it all. Because sometimes in our mind, we can't see beyond the fog of those things that we deal with.
Mhm.
Those issues that we're having that we don't know how to overcome.
Right.
So sometimes we figure, okay, if I succumb to it, then I won't have to deal with it anymore.
Mhm.
I'm here to tell you that's not the answer. First of all, let me remind you, your existence here on this earth is first necessary and powerful,
Right.
and not just for yourself. Everything you do and everybody you come in contact with is a seed planted.
Mm-hmm.
But I want to remind you, most of all, you're not alone. I tried twice to take my life. Then all of a sudden, it clicked. You're worth far more than what you're doing or pursuing to do to yourself. So, for those of you who need someone to talk to, because sometimes you could be in a house full and still be lonely.
Right.
Right.
So, I want to share with all of our viewers, you can call the National Suicide Prevention Lifeline at 1-800-273-8255. Once again, that's the National Suicide Prevention Lifeline at 1-800-273-8255. Give them a call. They're waiting on you. You're not alone. You don't have to succumb to it. You're more than a conqueror. All right, let's go a little bit further. Now, being the strong Black women, beautiful women that you are, and raising, you know, as my mother would sometimes call my young brother and I, hickheads, because especially when we get on our nerves, she'd be like, "Oh, you just go to your room, get out of my face." It was just all of that. But I'll never forget. We were sitting down, actually watching a documentary about Dr. Martin Luther King, and of course, it's Martin Luther King Day. Yay! It's King Day. But I'll never forget. My mother began to break down her and my aunts and uncles their experience when they were sitting during that time it was all happening, watching it on TV.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And I'll never forget, I became so emotional. But she began to break down the reality of life. She said, being that you're Black, she said that's already 1 to 2 strikes against you in alone. And you're male. She said, because unfortunately, she said they see you as a threat.
Yes.
They see you as a threat to their kingdom or whatever.
Right.
Right.
So she said you have to carry yourself a certain way, certain type of decorum.
Mhm.
There's a certain type of way you need to pursue your life. And you have to have an education.
Mhm.
She said, because if you do not know, you'll be lost in the wind.
Yes.
So even doing that documentary, she began to break down some things, realities.
Right.
Yeah.
So as strong Black women, how was it and how has it been? Years past and also present, because 2020, I keep telling people that was the season and the year of revelation because it revealed all
Yeah.
from all extremes and facets.
Yeah.
Right. It pulled the curtain and,
Yeah.
and the scales were no longer on anybody's eyes that were blind to it. They're like, oh, so
Right.
racism is real.
Right.
Oh, and
Right.
it's real to this degree.
Right.
Oh,
Yeah.
so as not only strong Black women for your own personal lives, but also, because this is a two-sided question,
Mhm.
so for your own personal lives and also for the lives of your children,
Mhm.
how has that been? Share, please. Dion.
No, for me, I didn't know. I only have the experience of the 1965 riots, because we were right in the heart of it, living in Watts, California.
Right.
And at 5, I didn't understand what was going on,
Mm-hmm.
why they were, why the National Guards came down our main street, why they were, in imperial courts
Mm.
arresting people and beating people and doing all the stuff that was going on. I didn't understand why 103rd Street was on fire,
Wow.
And although Daddy tried to explain it to me, my mother being the kind of person she was, she grew up in an era where you kept everything in. You didn't
Mm-hmm.
talk about it, you didn't express it, you just dealt with it and moved on.
Yeah.
That was it. Daddy
Wow.
was a little different. So he was trying to explain it, and I was like, oh, wow. And I didn't really understand racism until I got to high school because
Mm-hmm.
I had never really experienced it. Because I was just always, in living in Watts, it was just us. It wasn't a whole lot of Caucasian or even Hispanics.
Right.
It was predominantly black. So I didn't,
South Central Los Angeles, as they call it. Yeah.
I didn't have,
West side.
and that was even before it was considered South Central. It was
Exactly.
white
Exactly.
California. So
Mm-hmm.
I didn't experience anything near racism until 10th grade of high school. The day
Right.
before high school, the KKK had burned a cross on the lawn of our high school. And I'm like, okay, what the hell does that mean?
Right.
Right.
We'll be safe. What's going on?
Woo.
Woo.
Yeah.
And that's when I realized that we're not a very liked people,
Yeah. Yeah.
just because of the color of our skin,
Just
Yeah.
because of this beautiful,
just because
awesome
of
That
the color of
melanin
our
magic.
skin.
melanin, baby. I promise you, this stuff, I promise you, because just like yourself, uh, Sheila, when you said you begin to love yourself
Yes.
and you found that as freedom,
Hmm.
Mhm.
because oftentimes people ask me, how is it that you're so comfortable in your skin? Because not only am I black, but I'm fat, delicious, as I call full and complete, but also I'm a same gender loving king. So it's just like, oh, you just got strikes coming against you, coming and going. I said, that's right. I
Right.
said, but when I promise you anything or any part of me would never, first of all, take away from what God created. Number one.
Yes.
Number two, not only spiritually do I have a heritage, but naturally, my African American heritage, we are royalty.
Yes.
I'm a king. How can I not love myself? And when I really started to, because we're so taught that we have to look a certain way, even within our own community.
There you go. There you go. There you
Let's
go.
be real.
Right.
Right.
So, when you talk, you have to do this, you have to look this way, you have to be this way, you can't do that because then everybody else, but why am I living for everybody else's opinion?
Right.
So after a while, I became tired and weary of it. And so I just took it off. I had to start detoxing. I prayed and said, God help me. Because I know it's not your will for my life. And I know this it's not me.
Right.
Right.
So when I'm a stickler for truth, so when I started seeing some things and certain things didn't line up, because I would go to my mother, once again, a strong black woman,
Hmm.
because of course we always come back to y'all like mama.
Hey.
What about so and so and so?
Right.
And then sometimes my mother like, Michael, slow down, because I become passionate. So after I begin to break it down, certain things, and she said, you know what? I'll never forget, and I'll do my best not to cry. But she said to me one time, she said, you know what? She said, we know what the word says and we know what people say and all this other stuff. But she said, if anybody else can love you more than God, it can only be me.
That's right.
You do what you need to do and you be who you are for you and you be true to it.
Right.
Yeah.
Because she said, if you lie, then God will get you.
Mm-hmm.
Then God will deal with your heart if you lie.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
So when she said that clicked something into me. I said, okay, so I've had those that came against me or had their opinions. They were bold enough. Yeah, they were bold enough to come come with me, come at me like, well, you should do, well, why do you like this? I said, well, since you want to know that, I said, I have a question for you. How is it that you say that you serve the God of all truth, but yet you live a lie daily? How does that work?
How does that work?
Aren't you tired yet? I can see right through you, and I'm sure you know what I see, but yeah. Yeah.
You know, I too am a stickler for truth.
Right.
And, getting to know yourself. And
Mhm.
I guess as an only child, I spent a lot of time alone. So I
Yeah.
knew myself pretty well, pretty early on.
Right.
It took me a while to like me, but I knew who I was. Uh,
Mhm.
and, as far as I experienced racism so early on as well.
Wow.
My mother was a little militant.
Fight the power.
Look, oh my goodness, from day one, my mother
Hey,
was not playing. Okay,
love it. Love it.
she graduated high school
Mhm.
in '65,
Okay.
so they buried Kennedy on her birthday, her
Wow.
senior year. So she, and she's seen the riots. She had been out in the community, and so Avondale was on fire. Even in
Wow.
Cincinnati, Ohio, Avondale was on fire, and she was out there running around, with her buddies, and they were, protesting and all that. So she's always been that force in my life to say, you are Black and you are beautiful. And I
Amen.
really don't care, what or why. And I struggled, I struggled as a child. I was heavy set.
Mhm.
And my mother was a toothpick. She was one of the people could eat whatever she wanted and never gain a pound.
And then for
So
us, we eat a peppermint, and that's 15 pounds, right?
at 9 years old, I was wearing a women's size 10, and my mother was in a size 3.
Wow.
So I struggle with that,
Mhm.
but I never had an identity crisis as far as race. I always knew I'm Black, I'm beautiful, because she always instilled that in me.
Mhm.
And I grew up in an all Black neighborhood. And then when I was 10-ish, we moved to the white side of town.
Oh.
I'm
Uh-huh.
talking a 4-building apartment community, and there were 3 Black families, and they put us all in the same building in the same entranceway. And
Wow.
we were the only Black thing for miles. And it was like culture shock for me.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
That same year, I got accepted into the School for Performing Arts, which was Rainbow World, is what we
Mhm.
because there you had everybody, white,
Right.
Black, Indian, everybody. And
Mhm.
everybody was together and everybody was happy to be together. But I knew for a fact that that was not how the world was, because when I went home,
Yeah.
it was something totally different. We were on the school bus when I was in 7th grade. Our school bus went from where the school was all the way out to the suburb, and then worked its way back down to drop everybody off. So we at that point were the last ones dropped off because we lived closer to the city.
Right.
For the first week, when the school bus went out to the suburbs, the kids at the school out there, the high school students,
Right.
lined up and threw rocks at our school bus.
Woo.
And kids that got off the bus at that particular bus stop were beat up for being on the bus talking to them Black kids. you know. And so then after a week of that going on, and those kids got beat up and we got hit with rocks and all this craziness, they changed the bus route to start at the bottom of the hill and drop us off first. And then, take everybody else on up. So it was it was blatant to me.
Right.
I was called a nigger the first time. I think I was 10. because we were in this neighborhood where there were no Black people. You
Right.
know, my mother and my godmother and the other lady that lived in the building, and they were all single moms. You
Strong
know,
Black women. Yeah.
yes,
Yeah.
they were all single moms, and they were doing what they could do to make life better for us. You know, but that exposed us to rampant racism that we would have never, I'd have never seen that. And, you know, if I had stayed in the neighborhood I was, you know, born into.
Right.
Yeah.
So by the time I got to high school, Rainbow World, okay, that's fine at school, but I knew that wasn't how the world was.
Right.
You
That
know,
wasn't the true reality.
yeah,
Right.
it's like, come on.
Mhm.
You know, I had some friends that I had to explain, you know, yeah, you see this here in school, but when you get out in the world, honey, it ain't gonna be like that.
No.
You know, because they
Right.
would ask me in school, do you have to be so Black? And I was like, hey, I am who I am. You know, I
Right.
grew up in the hood. I love the hood in me. You know, the
How
hood
you
taught
doing? Right.
invaluable lessons that I could not have gotten anywhere else. But
Right.
Oh
don't
yeah.
I can rock both sides of the fence, and
Mhm.
That part.
that is very important. You
True.
know, um,
So how has that been after experience all of that? Then you come into motherhood,
yeah,
another realm of, especially when knowing how the world is, since you've
mhm,
seen it. And that's the thing I love about, even with all of the negative tragedies and traumas and things we've experienced and seen, not only are we a part of history, but we are history.
yeah,
Right.
It's
yeah,
because of us that this world called the United States of America stands.
right,
Right.
It was on
Mhm.
our backs
right,
Yeah.
from the
yeah.
Capitol on down.
And then
Exactly.
I had two of my boys went to the performing arts school that I went to. So they came home, and I was like my mother. Roots was required watching in our house. You don't
Oh
grow
yeah.
up in my house and not see that story. You don't grow up
Hmm.
in my house and not see the story of Malcolm X. You don't
Yes.
grow up in my house and not know who your people are, what we've been through, and how we got to be where we are. But my kids push back against that, especially the younger, you know, the younger
Right.
two. That was back then. It's not like that anymore. You know, mom, that's old. You know, nobody thinks like that anymore. Well, 2020 was a wake up call for them.
I'm sure.
All of a sudden, all the stuff that mama's been telling you about, here it is right here in your face, is not gone.
Right.
Mhm.
It's not gone. And yes, we still have to deal with it. Yes, you still need to know how to rock in one world and the other world. Yes, you
Hmm.
still need to be on the lookout. And for my boys, y'all are big men, big Black men. You are a threat. They are going to be scared. They have absolutely no reason to be, because I raised you to be gentlemen and they're
Hmm.
intelligent and all of that. But the first thing they going to see is your skin, and they going
Right.
to put their purse, and they going to, you know, squeeze into the corner of the elevator and all of
Hmm.
that,
They
you know.
roll up their windows and all of that.
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah, all of that. And you have to make them aware, you know, this is the world we're in. Don't let it make you bitter.
Right.
Know that this is what you're dealing with.
Exactly. Well, ladies, I hate to pause this right quick because it's gotten so good. But ladies and gentlemen, please know that this is going to be continued. This is to be continued. Tune in next Monday for part 2 of this conversation. And we're going to be talking about the stigma of the strong Black woman. Once again, God bless you. I love you. Thank you for coming and sharing your time with us. And also remember, you're not alone. God is with you, and I'm with you.
Right.
You'll never walk this life alone. Be encouraged. Keep your head up, even in the midst of trouble. Because remember, trouble don't last always. That
Right.
season can be trouble, but remember, it has a start and it has an ending.
Mhm.
Right.
So be encouraged. All right. Till next time.
Bye
See you
bye.
guys later.
All
Bye.
right.